Hello and welcome to this latest edition of my YouTube channel, Kayakan97. I'm also on Facebook at Kayakan Journalist, where I'm live as well. Please do get your comments and questions in, where I'm going to be trying to get as many of them in for you. I am joining you from my hotel in Washington, D.C, where I currently am with Arsenal. They have had their first day yesterday of pre-season training. It was on Monday morning, a boiling hot Monday morning. They touched down on Sunday around 8 p.m. And today is going to be press conference day. So we're going to be speaking to Mikel Arteta and a couple of Arsenal players. And there's also going to be Wayne Rooney there, DC United boss. So please do keep following us on the Football.london news pages and all that kind of stuff. And you can see all my social media pages going across the bottom there. So it's at KayaKarnak97 for Twitter, at KayaKarnak Journalist for Facebook, and then KayaKarnak FL for Instagram and Threads as well, which is very new. Throughout this, I'm going to be trying to get to a few of your questions, so please do get them in the comment section, and please do let me know what you're thinking about the topics we are discussing. As always, I like to start these videos with a quick thank you to everyone who has supported me along the way so far. It's been a fantastic journey, and it seems to be getting even better by the day. The number of subscribers, let me get this channel up and try to say, that's accidentally me going live on my own channel there. 3.24 thousand subscribers we are on YouTube so far. The Facebook page is doing amazingly as well. The Facebook page has how many followers at the moment? 29,000 of you are following me on Facebook, which it's mad. Thank you so much, everyone who supports me along the way. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate all your feedback as well. I have been listening to you when it comes to people who've been watching my previous YouTube videos will have noticed this section of the room is maybe not the best. I opened the curtains today because I just figured it looked a bit better. Yesterday I felt like, or Sunday even, felt like I looked like I was in a bit of a hostage situation. So today, hopefully, it looks a little bit better, a little bit brighter for you. But I'm aware, apologies, it's maybe not the best. I'm hoping the sound quality's improved, though. So I tried to sort out and with the microphone, so hopefully that has improved things. But yeah, like I say, for those of you just joining, we're going to talk about all things going on with Arsenal right now. And the big story that I covered yesterday was the first open training session. So the Arsenal players landed around 8 o'clock in the evening on Sunday, and by 10:30 a.m. the next day at the George Mason University, they were in open training. And guess who was there? None other than Declan Rice. There he is, the first footage. You can actually see me in the background of this photo, the eagle-eyed amongst you. If you look sort of under Eddie Nketiah's elbow there, you can see a white t-shirt guy with a black rucksack on with some blue shorts. That's me. That's me, but that's not the reason you've come here. You've not come here to see me talking about myself. The reason you're here is to hear me talk about Declan Rice and his first Arsenal training session, which went pretty well. He wasn't involved in the main warm-ups or anything like that. He just did stuff on the bikes, as you can see there. He was involved in all the stretches with the team. So the way it happened was, I'll give you a bit of an insight. So we arrived at George Mason University, and you can see the big athletics field there. There was a lot of press there. There was about 70 to 80 press all there just to watch Arsenal train. It was crazy. They put up Mikel Arteta, and I'll come to a few of his comments a little bit later on. They also put up Austin Trusty and Folarin Balogun, whose comments I'll also come to a little bit later. And it was a bit of a scrum. It was a bit busy, but the players all arrived. You can see just behind Eddie's sort of other arm, there's the coach. That was where it was parked, and they walked down onto the training session, and then sort of to the right of where Eddie was is sort of facing. There was a bunch of roll mats set up, a bunch of yoga mats, and they did their stretches there, warm-ups. You may have seen some shorts on my YouTube channel, which I put out of that, and some content. I'm sure you saw it across social media of all the players training and getting involved. And it was Declan Rice's first session. He wasn't involved in the actual physical warm-up. So after they'd done all their stretches, they went onto the pitch, and they did sort of the classic, like running through cones, the classic stretches, all that kind of stuff, and then a few sort of innovative techniques. There was one where they had to do keepy-uppies, and then the coach, they'd be in a group of about 4 or 5, and they'd be doing keepy-uppies, and then the coach would shout out a colour of a cone. They had multicolored cones on the floor, and they'd say maybe green, and the players had to pick up the green cone while also doing keepy-uppies at the same time, but the ball would have to stay in the air. I think it was to sort of encourage teamwork. I didn't fully understand it. Somehow someone ended up doing push-ups. Bukayo Saka was one of them doing push-ups. It didn't really seem to make too much sense to me from where I was sat in the stanchion at the back there, but that was the way it went. So Declan Rice wasn't involved in that, nor was Eddie Nketiah. I'll come on a little bit more in detail to the other players who were on the bikes and maybe suffering with a few injuries, but I want to come on to some of Mikel Arteta's comments on Declan Rice, actually, because I thought they were pretty good. I mean, Arteta is very swift when it comes to the media, but he was pretty quick through this one. I think he saw so many people, but I think it was interesting to see with his comments on Declan Rice. And the one that really stood out to me was Arteta saying, "I see him like a lighthouse. That is, he is willing to put light in others and improve others and make the team better. And that is a huge quality. For me to be a midfielder, you have to have that, and he's got it 100%. And the way he talks and presents himself and the ambition he has and the passion towards the game, that is exactly what we needed." And I guess there's multiple ways of viewing that. You could say Arteta's sort of saying Arsenal were shipwrecked before, but I don't think that's the implication. I think he's sort of saying that he's this shining star that Arsenal's players are going to end up sort of naturally gravitating to. And it's interesting that after just one day within the squad, that is already coming across with Declan Rice. I spoke to a few people around the dressing room, sort of around open training, and there was a lot of stuff on how he has already sort of established himself within the squad as someone who, I don't want to say quite a leader because he's only been there a couple of days, but his presence is felt. I'll say that much. It's sort of, sometimes players come in, and we saw this with Jurrien Timber, I think, and this isn't a slight on Timber. And Timber was also involved in training yesterday, and it's gone a little bit under the radar that he's been involved. And I wonder if we'll get the chance to see him make his debut on Wednesday against the MLS All-Stars, Jurrien Timber. But with him, maybe a little bit more shy. We saw those video content that Arsenal put out. He didn't look nervous, but he looked maybe a little bit more reserved. Whereas when Rice stepped in the building, you really felt this aura. You felt this sort of energy around him, and it just seemed like he felt like, yeah, I deserve to be here. I belong here. And there was no sort of imposter syndrome that I noticed from Rice. And that video where Arteta introduced him and Timber to the rest of the group, and Rice was saying stuff along the lines of, "Yeah, I'll say a few things." And I was like, wow, okay, this guy is not shy. He's not backwards about coming forwards. He's ready to get straight in there and get involved. And I think that was a massive sort of, I guess, positive as far as Declan Rice is concerned. So if you've got any questions on Declan Rice, please do get them in. Lots of you saying hello. Hello, Patrick. Hello, Adserji. Hello from Kenya to Josiah. Please do let me know where you're watching from. That's amazing. Hello, Ian from Scotland. Hello to Simex, who's watching. Hello to DJ Oni. Hello to Jon Helga Magnuson. All of you guys watching. I will come to your questions in a bit, but please do keep getting them in as we're going through the session. So, other stuff to talk about. Yeah, Declan Rice was involved in the training session, and you can see him there was Martin Ødegaard. There was quite a fun thing where they all got piggyback with some of the staff. It was like he sort of had to jump on the person closest to use the piggyback or something like that. And Martin Ødegaard was, of course, involved. Did sort of get straight on Mikel Arteta's back, but the good news with Ødegaard was that he is involved and he's fit. And it was a thigh knock, I believe, that he picked up in the warm-up ahead of Nuremberg that kept him out of the game. But he is fine. He should be okay to face the MLS All-Stars on Wednesday. He was involved in training fully, as was Leo Trossard, who had to come off with an issue there. You can see him on Ben White's back. So the players who were on the bikes, Marquinhos was involved and Rob Holding were both involved as well. They were both absent from the Nuremberg game. Rob Holding, we were told, was due to muscle tightness, but then it did emerge later on that he had been the subject of a bid from Besiktas, and I do wonder if maybe that played a little bit of a part in the decision to leave him out, because William Saliba was on the bikes with a few other players, and I do just think, I don't know, with Saliba, it was all positive. There was no sort of suggestions from anyone that there were any issues with him, and I think he's definitely in contention to be involved on Wednesday. What else? Who else was on the bikes? Gabriel Martinelli was there. Mo El Neni. Mo, we're not expecting back till around September after his injury, so it's still a little while to go yet for him, but I think he's certainly bringing a lot to this tour, and it's a slow one with these kind of knee injuries because you don't want to risk going too quickly with them, I think. Who else was there? Alex Zinchenko and Takahiro Tomiyasu were both involved. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to play against the MLS All-Stars on Wednesday, which is a real shame because I think with Tomiyasu, particularly with Timber coming in and with Zinchenko being out injured, you wonder if maybe this is a chance for him to show himself. But yeah, he was on the sidelines, as was Eddie Nketiah. Told it was just bumps and bruises for those guys, nothing too serious, but they weren't involved in the main warm-up. There was an 11-a-side game, literally just as we were being ushered out, and I didn't quite get a chance to do a head count of who was involved in that. But I I don't know if those guys on the bike stepped up to be involved. It did seem like they did some ball work based on the photos that Arsenal put out. Like I saw Reiss and Saliba was doing some stuff, but I don't quite know if they were involved in the games and stuff that the rest of the team did. But yeah. I was going to talk about something else there, but it has slipped my mind. So I'll keep going, and I want to discuss something else, which is Reiss Nelson. Yes, that's what I was going to say. So Reiss Nelson, unfortunately, didn't make the tour, and we got a reason why he's not involved. Sadly, he suffered a foot laceration. So unfortunately, the foot laceration for him is picked up in the Nuremberg game. A laceration is basically just like a really deep cut, and it required stitches on it. It's a real shame for Reiss because his whole thing had been, when he signed the contract, his big comment was, my target is staying fit for as long as possible, and he feels like he can get a bit of a rhythm going. And it's a really bad time to get a small niggling injury, because these kind of pre-season games, it's when you start to build up your rhythm, you start to get ahead of steam before the season, and now he's sort of 2 weeks behind, and it must be so frustrating because it's the kind of injury where you can't risk popping those stitches open. So he hasn't even been able to come out here. I doubt he'll even be training with a ball. I imagine he'll be doing gym work and fitness stuff. That's just, I haven't had that confirmed. That's just what I think will be going on with Reiss. If he's got stitches in his foot, you'd imagine that he wouldn't be able to do any ball work. So it's really frustrating because he did look bright in that first half against Nuremberg, I thought he was cutting in off the left, looking pretty good. It seems that he's now the sort of second choice behind Gabriel Martinelli on that left side. And if Martinelli is still struggling with his injury, still not quite up to speed, then it was sort of seeming that maybe Nelson would get the chance to start the season on the left. That might have been something that was in the offing for him. Now he'll have to wait a bit. They're hopeful that he'll be back for the Emirates Cup game against Monaco, which is August the 2nd. So yeah, sadly he's not out here in America, which is a real shame for Reiss because I was looking forward to seeing him and hopefully getting a chance to speak to him after his contract and interview him, because I think he's got some interesting stuff to say and I think he's a really good talker. But who else isn't out here? Cedric was left out due to a technical decision by Mikel Arteta, was what I was told. Nuno Tavares is on holiday. Nicola Pepe and Albert Samuel Lokonga are injured. Two other players who are absent who are expected to join up are Thomas Partey and Emile Smith-Rowe. So those guys, they will be joining up later in sort of the coming days, is what I've been told, and it's most likely for the New Jersey leg of the tour. So Arsenal play, they have training and a press conference today. Then they play the MLS All-Stars on Wednesday. Oh, and there's the All-Star Skills Challenge today as well. They then play the MLS All-Stars on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, they travel from Washington, D.C. to New Jersey. Training on Friday, press conference on Friday, game against Man United on Saturday. So the expectation is that Partey and Smith-Rowe will be back with the team by that point. And obviously, we all know the reasons why Emile Smith-Rowe is slightly later in joining. He was way with the England under-21s, winning the Euros Championship in Georgia. Very impressive few weeks for him where he really turned out for the England under-21, scored 2 goals, grabbed an assist, was key, played in the final en route to their victory, and a really important player for the England under-21s, and hopefully will become a really important player for the Arsenal first team again as well. And I think it's really good news for him and really good commitment that he has shown that his willingness to join up with the team. He's foregone a holiday, a little bit of a holiday. He's not forgone a contract. I don't want to say that before aggregators pick that up. Very much a case of he's forgone a bit of a holiday. So he'll be waiting. He'll be waiting to join up eagerly. He's been sort of taking each little break Emile Smith-Rowe has been using to work up his fitness. Even in that break between the season and the under-21s, he was away in Dubai with a personal trainer, working really hard to try and get back up to speed. He's so determined. He's playing pain-free finally. And he's playing in that central midfield position. But I wonder again, when he joins up, that left-sided spot now with Reiss not there and Martinelli not quite ready, possibly. I don't know if it's confirmed that he won't be involved, but I imagine if he's on the bikes, he might be a little bit slower joining up. I just wonder if there's a chance there for Emile to maybe stake a claim on the left. I mean, I wonder who'll play on that position. I imagine it'd be Trossard maybe with Jesus up front and Saka playing on the right. I'll bring you a bit more of a predicted lineup cut type thing in the video tomorrow, but I'd imagine that'll be what they go for in terms of the MLS All-Stars. But yeah, that's the situation with Emile Smith-Rowe. Thomas Partey. So it's my understanding that there is interest from Saudi Arabia. He's been left behind, but he will be joining up. That's what I've been told. The plan is for him to be joining up in the coming days, as was sort of briefed earlier in the week. But we've now got a bit more of a firm date. And yeah, for the New Jersey leg of the tour, yeah, so he will be joining up. There is that interest in Saudi Arabia. That would imply that it's not really an injury thing as well if it's so short. So yeah, we'll see what happens with him when he joins up. I thought he played really well in Nuremberg, so hopefully he'll be able to join up and continue to play. But there is that speculation over his future. Interesting teams in Italy, interesting teams in Saudi Arabia. We do wonder what's going on there. So there's lots of things going on with Thomas Partey. More of you are telling me where you're watching from around the world, which I'm absolutely loving. So hello from Uganda, says Nelson. Colin says Guernsey. Got Patrick in Sweden. Brian from Rwanda. So many of you. Hello from Canada, Nigeria, South Africa. Thank you very much for joining in, guys. I really appreciate it. It's mad that you guys are watching this around the world. It's crazy. I find it so humbling that you're all watching around the world. It's fantastic. So thank you so much for tuning in. And let's keep going. I will get to your questions at the end, so please keep them coming in and I will get through as many of them as possible. What else did I talk about? Yes, Folarin Balogun. Yes. He was talking to us yesterday, and as I said, you could see me in the back of that Declan Rice picture. I was interviewing him. Got a chance to speak to him. He was asked about his future and his comments. Yeah, I tweeted out his comments, and they don't seem to have gone down too well with you guys, the Arsenal fan base. So I'll read out his comments. He says he was asked about his future with sort of the question was put to him in sort of the context. I'll give you the full context of the question. So he was sort of asked, with Gabriel Jesus being the number one striker, you're coming back off this fantastic season in France. What do you think is going to happen with your future? And his response was, I obviously went away, and the point of that was to prove that I could play first team football. And that obviously was where he went to Stade de Reims, scored 22 goals, had a very good season out in Liga, the highest scoring American player, I think, in Europe's top 5 leagues in a single season ever, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. Maybe Landon Donovan did something better, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So carrying on the quote, he says, I feel I was able to do that and show people that I can play at that level. I think with me coming back, it's not really much of a situation where I think I need to try extra hard to prove something. I think it's a decision that's not really with me. Whatever happens, I'm cool with it. And just to give a bit more context to that video, the comments, sorry. I think maybe people have taken it a little bit out of context in the sense that maybe they've misinterpreted him saying, I don't really need to try. That sounds a bit different. That sounds a bit bad. But I think what he was essentially saying was it's outside of my hands. So I'm not in a position where I feel any pressure to do anything extra. But I do think maybe that those words do tend to suggest that he's open to an exit. And I think, to be fair to Flo, I think he's within his rights to want to play first team football next season. I just don't think that's going to happen at Arsenal. I think with Arsenal, they've obviously got Jesus, Trossard is there, Havertz can play up front too, Martinelli can play up front, and let's not forget Eddie Nketiah too. Do I see Balogun getting too many minutes next season up front in the position where he excelled last season? I don't, personally. I don't. And I think for Arsenal, if they can sort of get involved and get a good deal for him, then I think it might be the right time to sell. He's got 2 years left on his contract, no option to extend. So, it seems like now is the time if Arsenal are going to sell. His stock is at its highest it's probably ever going to be. And we've seen those reports that Inter Milan are interested. That's my understanding that they are interested too. They're going to offer, I believe, as I think it was Jordan Campbell was reporting The Athletic, their offer is going to be considerably lower than Arsenal's £50 million asking price, but that's what Arsenal want for him, £50 million. I'd be surprised if they get it, personally. I think when it comes to this, it's more a case of negotiation. So that's an asking price. Arsenal will go in saying, we want 50 million. Maybe they'll be willing to negotiate down. I wonder if that's something that they might be looking at doing, but it's not just Inter interested. I understand that Leipzig were interested earlier in the window, but I don't know if that's still the case now that they signed Lois Openda. AC Milan were also linked with a move, and there's lots of American players making those moves to their Milan clubs. I did see James Benge, I think, report yesterday that Brighton and Palace are interested as well. Might have been Jordan as well. So I want to make sure that I'm getting all the guys within the Arsenal pack, because we're very lucky to have some fantastic Arsenal journalists breaking some fantastic stories. So, those guys have been doing some great reporting, and Inter, AC, I think, are interested, and there's teams in the Premier League. Personally, I think if Brighton are interested, that'd be a superb move for Balogun, playing European football next season in the Premier League. I think that'd be a really smart move. I think he'd be in a team that creates a lot of chances and he'd score a lot of goals. From an Arsenal perspective, I do wonder if maybe they might want to include a buyback clause. I don't know if a team like Arsenal, if Brighton would go for that. I wonder if maybe one of the Italian teams might, but if Arsenal do look to move on, let's say Eddie Nketiah decides after a couple of seasons he wants to go be first choice somewhere, maybe Arsenal decides to bring Balogun back, and I think that could be pretty smart. A comparison that came up in my head was with Real Madrid, and they sold Mariano Diaz to Lyon, and he did really well out there, and they brought him back, and they sort of used him as a squad player for a little while because they included a buyback clause in his deal to leave. And I wonder if maybe that kind of deal would be preferable for Arsenal. But then again, easier said than done, and you need to find a team that is willing to do that and accept that. And I wonder if maybe that's not something that buying teams will be willing to do, especially with the £50 million fee. So yeah, that's the chat around Flo Balogun. One more thing to talk about with Arsenal, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think. This might be one where you just sort of give me an instant reaction in the comments and see what you think. The new kit is out. The away kit released this morning. Shock yellow is what they're calling it. The lines, the black lines are supposed to represent the map of Islington. I live in Islington. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if maybe they could have given a slightly more different tribute to Islington. I have to say, I'm not his biggest fan. I've spoken to a few people who say they think it'll become sort of like a festival thing where people go to festivals and wear it. I can't see that myself. I personally wouldn't go to a festival wearing it, but I know there's lots of people who do, and sort of kits are becoming more of a thing and more of a fashion thing outside of football. But I'm not his biggest fan, and it seems like, yeah, let's just highlight a few of your. So Nelson loves it. Nelson, I'm afraid you're in a minority here because terrible, no, move on, just a straight out thumbs down emoji. Okay, we've got some more people saying they love it. Adekoya says he loves it. Dorkington says he loves it. He's bought it, in fact. It's bad. The away fans will stand out and illuminate. I have to agree. So yeah, that is the kit for the coming season, the away kit. Obviously, we know the home kit, and I believe that third kit is going to be green with the blue sleeves. I'm more of a fan of that one. Green is my favorite color, so I think I'll be buying that if I'm going to be buying any of the kits. But yeah, not the biggest fan of the bright yellow one, but I think, Adidas were due a miss. I saw someone say on Twitter this morning. I think that's fair enough. They've been pretty hit with the kit so far, so maybe one bad one out of 3 years. It's not too shabby, so I'll forgive them for this, given all the lovely stuff they brought us kits wise in the past. So keep getting your comments in, keep getting your questions in. So some of you are watching from Chile, from Seattle. I think Sai's saying he's watching from Brighton, or I can't remember if he's saying that Balogun is getting interest in Brighton. I'm assuming with the waving hands emoji, he's saying he's watching from Brighton. Philippe is from France, but he's watching from Jersey. Stephen watching in Northern Ireland. So please do let me know where you guys are watching from, and I will now try and get to some of your questions. So Kamoy Reed says, hello Kaya, has there been or will there be any addition to the coaching staff, especially now Steve Brown has gone? So the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that Carlos Cuesta was sitting slightly closer to Mikel Arteta on the touchline in Nuremberg. I'd keep an eye out for that. I'll put it that way. I'd keep an eye out for him sort of becoming more of an influence within this group. I asked Arteta about it, and he wasn't too forthcoming. I asked him about that, Carlos Cuesta being a bit closer to him, and his response was, got lots of staff, they all sat next to me. So I think from an Arteta perspective, he doesn't want to seem like he's maybe elevating one coach above another, but I'd keep an eye on that Carlos Cuesta thing, because I think he is someone who will be having increasing influence next season. Albert Stuyvenberg's still the main assistant, though, and very involved in the tactical side of things. Steve Round was more the culture side of things, and for those of you who don't know, he obviously left the club but on mutual terms last week. So that decision was made, but he's left. He was more to do with the culture. Stuyvenberg's more to do with the tactics. I wonder if maybe there'll be someone else who comes in. There is a new Issa, I can't remember his surname, but the guy who was to do with, I think David Ornstein wrote a piece about him, and his background was futsal maybe. He started joining with the coaching staff. There's a few new faces in and around the Arsenal coaching staff this season. There's been a bit of a shake-up, so a few new people are here, a few new people involved, and getting ready to take part and help out with this Arsenal team. Richie Pereira says he's watching from Singapore. Aaron, question from him. So I really appreciate that start of that question, Aaron. Thank you very much. Hi, Kai. Thanks for the great content. El Neni extended his contract with us to recover from his knee injury at the club. Now he's back earlier than expected. Could he leave this summer? So I referenced this a little bit earlier in the video, but in case you didn't hear that, he is unlikely to be back before September. which to me would suggest that a move is not on the cards. And given that Arsenal did extend his contract, I don't think there was ever a plan to sell him. I don't think it was necessarily a case of them wanting to protect value. With Mo, it was a case of wanting to keep him around, wanting to look after him. He's very popular within the dressing room, very popular member of the squad. And you wonder if Partey leaves and let's say they're unable to get another midfielder. I know they want to sign another midfielder if Partey were to go. And as I've seen reports today that they're looking at another forward, that is somewhere where they are looking to strengthen. It's my understanding of that too. But again, it's a case of what they're able to do within one window. I don't know if it's something that will be feasible to get all that done. I think it's obviously at this point dependent on sales. So they bought the 3 that they wanted in. Now the gears will shift towards sales. And then from there, they'll look to sort of see what they've got and reevaluate and go again a little bit later in the window and maybe see if there's something that they want to do. So, for example, if Thomas Partey were to leave, they bring in another midfielder most likely. And we've seen those links to Romeo Lavia, which I think make perfect sense. Similarly, if a few of the strikers leave, then maybe they'll start to look for more forwards. So, but not to say on to your question, El Neni unlikely to be back before September is my understanding. So I don't think he'll be leaving this summer. I think he'll be involved in and around the squad. Very popular player and nice guy to have around the group, and also a good player as well. I think he can have a real impact in those Carabao Cup and a few Champions League group stage games. Dear Apollon says, any indications on whether Rice will play on Thursday? So the game is Thursday for you guys over there. It's Wednesday for me, so that's a little bit confusing in my head, but don't know. We're seeing Mikel Arteta later today, so we'll try and ask him at the press conference. So keep an eye out on socials and Football.london's content for that to sort of see if I can give you any indication on whether Rice will be playing. I think the fact that he was on the bikes would suggest that maybe he's a little bit further back. Jurrien Timber wasn't. He was involved in the main session. So that, to me, would suggest that maybe he's not going to be. But like I say, Kai Havertz came in, for example, in Nuremberg and had only trained for 3 days. So it's possible. I wouldn't say no for certain, but I'd say it doesn't look likely given the indication we got from open trading. But like I say, don't know for certain. Nick says, will Jorginho start versus the MLS All-Stars? I'd imagine so. If Partey isn't going to be here, which he's not, as I referenced earlier in the video, he's joining up more likely than not for the New Jersey leg of the tour. Got that interest in Saudi Arabia, obviously. El Neni's injured. Rice has only just come in. I'd imagine it'll be Jorginho starting. Lokonga obviously injured as well. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that Jorginho would be the likely guy to start. Nick, in answer to your question against the MLS All-Stars, let's keep going through some of your questions here. I'll go for another few more minutes while I try and get through them. BY says, how was Kai's body language? Good. Yeah, he seems like he's really happy. He seems like he's already a part of the group. He really sticks out because he's the tallest one in the group, because Saliba wasn't even in the group, and he stands out. And I'm 6'6", but he's 6'4", and you can see him standing above the rest of the Arsenal group. Arsenal have got quite a tall team now. Declan Rice is in there. Gabriel's a big guy. Saliba's obviously a big guy. Ramsdale's obviously tall. Goalkeepers are tall. Kivior's tall. White's tall. Who else is there? Rob Holding's tall. Havertz, tall. So, yeah, positive body language, I'd say. I think he looked pretty good. He looked pretty happy. He seems to be settling in really quickly. I think it helps that there's that sort of small former Chelsea-ish contingent. Obviously, Jorginho's helping him settle, and Jorginho is a very popular member of the squad. It'll be interesting to see with Havertz if he starts on Wednesday or Thursday for you guys, or some of you guys watching, depending on where you are around the world. Because I think if he starts, that'll be an indication of maybe sort of him playing, his fitness growing. And he himself said to us in Germany, and I've got a few more a video discussing a bit more what Kai Havertz said in Germany further back on the channel. So when you're done with this, go check that out. But he said, basically, I need to teach my brain how to play that left 8 position again. So it's going to take a little while for him to get up to speed, a little while for him to get into sort of the swing of things. So that's the plan with him. So, yeah, that is his body language. A few more of your questions before I start to wrap things up. A lot more comments on the kit. People still not happy. Yeah, Yorda says, imagine celebrating the title in Old Trafford in May with that kit. We'll all have to love it. I don't know if I'd still like it. I think it would still be an issue. Even that kit, I think I still have an issue. A few more questions from you guys. All the way from South Africa, says Jen Pretorius, who's watching it from there. Rafiko says Mbappe ain't coming. I think probably safe to say no, I'm afraid, Rafik. But you never know. You can never say certain. But I'd be very shocked if Arsenal got Mbappe this summer. Happy to eat humble pie on that, though. I'm happy to be wrong. We'll see. Annie Rude says another midfielder is a must. I'm assuming that's if Thomas Partey leaves. Okay. Question from Mickey NJX. He asked, Kaya, what is this talk about Brighton coming in from Balogun? We touched on that a little bit earlier. Any chance for Caicedo a swap deal? Any truth about Joao Felix to AFC? And what CDM looks more likely if Partey leaves? Okay, so a few questions in there. I have to say, a swap deal for Caicedo, I don't know. I don't know if that's on the table. Arsenal want 50 million, as we've said. Brighton want over 100 million for Caicedo because they're using Declan Rice as a benchmark. I wonder if there's maybe a deal to be done there. Chelsea do seem to have made a bit more of a headway on that deal, in the sense that they, I think, submitted a £70 million bid for Caicedo earlier this week. But Caicedo's got interest from a lot of teams. It's not just Arsenal. Arsenal haven't by any means got a free path towards Moises Caicedo. It's a bit different from maybe some of their other deals. I think it'll be a tricky one to get over the line. A swap deal would be fantastic if they're able to do it, though, but I've not heard anything to suggest that's in the works or possible right now. I'll do some digging because it's a good idea. But again, it's all predicated on when these things happen. So if Chelsea come in and sign Caicedo, I don't think Brighton are going to wait to sell him on the off chance they might be able to get Balogun. I think it depends on when Partey leaves, and then there's dominoes that could fall after that, and if Partey leaves even. Will he go to Saudi Arabia? Will he go to Italy? All those kind of things. So there's a lot of ifs and buts. I don't know if we can sort of say for certain if that's going to happen. So any truth about Joao Felix to Arsenal? Not heard it myself. Not saying that's not true, because you can never say anything's not true in this industry. But as in for definite, unless you're really, really certain. But with transfers, it's very difficult to say things aren't true. But I've not heard anything about that. And what defensive midfielder looks more likely if Partey leaves? So I've been trying to dig around Romeo Lavia. Unfortunately, not got anywhere on that just yet. But there's a few sort of people saying that Arsenal are interested, and very reliable guys saying Arsenal are interested. Like I say, not been able to confirm it myself, but I think he'd be a good signing for Arsenal. And I think the reason I say that is because Jorginho's got 1 year left in his contract. Arsenal do have the option to extend it by a further 12 months. But Rice is going to be starting primarily as a 6. That's what I've been told the plan is, for him to be the defensive midfielder. And if you bring in another player who's maybe younger, who can maybe do slightly more understudy role and start to learn from Jorginho, and then Jorginho moves on at the end of the season, and then Lavia steps up and is ready to challenge Declan Rice. With all that going on, it just seems to make sense in terms of a squad, I guess, sort of building kind of thing. You look at what Liverpool have done in the past with, for example, Luis Diaz coming in before Sadio Mane left, and that was the plan. And that's something that Arsenal really like as a strategy. Edu even referenced it when I interviewed him last summer. He said, yeah, I like that. I think that's a beautiful strategy is what he said, actually. So, yeah, potentially something there on that front. Any more questions that I want to answer? Okay. I'll do one last one from Alako, and then I'll start to wrap things up. Aloko Toby says, what's the situation with Tierney? Tierney and Tomiyasu are the two pure defenders we have at fullback. It would be very logical for us to keep him. Thanks for your good work. Well, thank you for tuning in, Aloko. I really appreciate the support. Currently, Kieran Tierney is staying. There's no concrete bids. Newcastle were interested earlier in the summer. That interest, I'm not saying it's gone cold at all, but I just haven't been able to sort of dig into it as much. I've been very busy with some other stuff, as I'm sure you can imagine, with the other transfers that have been going on around Arsenal. But Tierney seems pretty happy. I mean, he gets a lot of stick for being, I guess, maybe I saw some people having a go at him for not having the smiliest face in that video where Arteta was announcing Rice and Timber to the group. Yesterday, Tierney looked really happy. He was sort of jumping on piggybacks. He was clambering all over the guys. He was very much involved, seemed very happy to be there, enjoying the sun, working on that Glaswegian tan. But he seemed like he was having a nice time. I agree with you. I think he's a defensively very good player. But I just think with the defenders Arsenal have now got in, and the fact that Kivior played ahead of Tierney, and I'd argue Kivior is more of a pure defender, if you like, at fullback than Tierney even, and White can be more of a pure defender too. I just think Tomiyasu possibly going to switch over to the left. this season with Zinchenko, and then White and Timber on the other side. Timber primarily is going to be the right back next season. He's primarily going to play right back next season rather than necessarily being a centre back, even though Arsenal do like his versatility. So I just think Timber and White on the right side, Tomiyasu and Zinchenko on the left side just seems to me to make a little bit of sense for Kieran Tierney to be possibly someone who moves on. But like I say, nothing concrete on that front at the minute. But I will keep you posted, and as soon as I hear anything on it, don't you worry, you guys will be the first to know. Right, I'm going to start to wrap things up there. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuned into this video. So many of you have been involved. There's over 300 of you watching now, which is amazing. Thank you for everyone who's been around the world. I can only echo Matthew Benjamin Lee's comments. Matthew Lee Benjamin, who says, smash that like button. Please do. I appreciate that. I know it's sort of like a YouTuber cliche to say like and subscribe, but you guys liking and subscribing to these videos is giving me fuel to want to keep going and keep doing more. So I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching this video. I hope I got through enough of your questions and I answered stuff that you wanted to know about Arsenal. I will bring you more stuff later today. We've got Mikel Arteta, who will be speaking to the press, and then I believe it's going to be Martin Odegaard and Eddie Nketiah. So we'll bring you a little bit more on that later in the day. They'll be the guys who will be joining us, I hope. I mean, things change, so don't hold me to that too concretely. But thank you so much for joining. Please do keep, like I say, liking and subscribing to this video. All those platforms you can see on the bottom at KaiKaiNet97 on Twitter. Facebook is KaiKaiNet Journalist. Instagram and Threads are both at KaiKaiNetFL. So please do follow me on all those things. And I'll bring you all the coverage of Arsenal's US pre-season tour and throughout the season, all of Arsenal stuff going on. So please do keep getting involved. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And I will see you all very soon. Cheers, guys, and bye-bye.